Hello there. You are watching Newspaper Review on Niger Live TV. My name is Barbie Mkparu, and I'm joined by.
Glad Yakie.
All right, quickly. So, Newspaper Review is your daily press review, as we will be checking out headlines making the papers. But before we begin, Glad, have you seen what is trending in our newspapers? Have you checked
Yeah,
out
I've
some top
actually
stories?
I've had a glimpse into the papers this morning, and there's some good stories there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's quickly delve into it. We start off with the Nation newspaper. 2027 anxiety as parties, aspirants intensify consultation on nomination. The 2027 general election is around the corner. We're already in April. And April is running, it's almost finished as well. So you can imagine 2027 is not so far anymore. We see that the different political parties and those who have interests have started carrying out their consultations to ensure that to ensure that they be nominated. We also reported the story where there was a statement. This was within the All Progressives Congress, where a statement was made. It said, "Is why does it look like the candidates are being imposed? It's looking like the candidates are being imposed, and rather than having a consensus, So a whole lot anxiety here and there going on in the various political parties as they all prepare for the 2027 general elections. Do well to read through details of that story as it is available in the paper. We have another one here. Oil theft. 586 arrested, 28 convicted in crackdown. Glad, quite an interesting story there.
Interesting story, especially considering the situation of crude oil in Nigeria, because there's been an increment in oil price. So I think the federal government is trying to clamp down, toughen its stance on oil theft. So the number is quite on the high. 586 and then 28 already convicted. So it shows the measures that the government is trying to put in place to curb oil theft.
All right, quite a story there. Do well to read through details of the story. Let's quickly head on to the Vanguard newspaper. We're going to take a few headlines as available on the Vanguard newspaper. Recapitalization crunch. 12 insurers at risk. Do well to read through details. We also have another story, another headline here. ADC leadership. Why 3 revival blocks are locked.
Rival blocks,
right,
yeah.
right. 3 rival blocks are locked in do or die battle.
Quite interesting.
An interesting story.
This was a situation I personally foresaw for a long time, because you look at the candidates, the individuals in the ADC that will be contesting for that presidential seat.
Yeah.
Talking about Kwankwanso, Peter Obi,
and then the former vice president.
Of course, they're really high-profile individuals. So I was really worried. I was thinking, how would the ADC
would step down
how
for
would,
who?
Yes, how would they accommodate these 3 individuals? Put them, and that's what we're really starting to see on the headlines. So we're not really the ADC. They aren't sure who they would even feel as maybe the president and who would be the vice. So they have to at least be compromises made from the individuals there.
Yeah, quite a story there. The elections are quickly coming, so a whole lot going on. Quickly, let's head on to the Punch newspaper. 2027 battle lines. APC may scrap consensus plan in flashpoint states. What I had initially mentioned.
Yeah, for the APC, they initially used consensus where the leadership will come and they would decide an individual that they deem fit to represent the party. But right now, there's a lot of individuals, high-profile individuals that will be challenging the governors and all that. So they feel like in order for them to avoid a situation where there'll be crisis and maybe factions developing in the party and then people defecting from the party, so they're trying to do it with consensus. So they will start looking the way of hosting primary elections. So that's a move made by the party to try and avoid a chaotic environment.
All right, a whole lot. The preparations here and there. All right, so another headline we see here. FG votes 1.4 billion naira for Boko Haram terrorist trial.
That's a lot.
That's a whole lot, to be very honest. But you should read through details of that story as it is available in the paper. Pay rise. Sanu rejects FG's 30% offer. That's from Sanu. At this point, they are now rejecting the federal government's 30% offer. A whole lot.
I feel like the 30% is still pretty
It
small.
sounds
It's pretty small because you consider the inflation in the country, price of goods increasing. So for the
and
senior
these are
staff,
staff,
yeah, for the
yes.
universities, they've always been complaining about the fact that their salaries are not even enough to even take them to work.
Yeah, for
Because you talk about
transportation.
transportation, how much it costs you to fuel your car as a lecturer. So they've been complaining for a long time, and the saga between Sano and the federal government has been ongoing for a long time.
Ongoing, I
And
mean.
I'm not even sure if it will lead to a strike because in Nigeria, strike is just around the corner for Nigerian students. So it's something that we students should be wary about, But let's see if the negotiations with the federal government and SAN would actually yield something
Positive,
fruitful. Yeah.
yes. All right, so quickly to the new Telegraph. Let's speak a few headlines there. Insecurity, reintegration dangerous as terrorism existential threat to nation. That is statement from the ADC, African Democratic Congress. Do well to read through details of that story as available in the paper. No missing funds and revenues, FAAC deductions. That's from federal government. Well, check out details of that story as it is available in the paper. Now, looking to the international scene, we see President Donald Trump. U.S. negotiators will be in Pakistan today for Iran talks. I mean, this is in regards to the
ongoing
the
crisis.
ongoing
in the Middle
crisis,
East.
yes.
Yeah.
Although we had reported that the Strait of Hormuz was temporarily opened. But do well to read through details of that story as it is available in the paper. We head on quickly to the Nigeria Tribune. Nigeria Tribune, not terrorist reintegration plan. ADC warns Tinubu's government. Oh, quite a story.
Well, personally, I don't think it's fair to just reintegrate the terrorists after they've carried out many atrocities. They've killed so many lives.
So many
they've
people.
done so much damage. So I think there has to be justice for the victims because I wouldn't be happy if I'm a victim. I've seen this person kill someone so close to me. Some of these victims are actually alive. Maybe they've been amputated or something. And then you see the person that perpetrated these crimes
Is
working freely.
and
I
being
think,
a
and even
repentant terrorist.
even being rewarded by the federal government in some cases, So I don't think it will be fair for the victims. I think there has to be some form of justice. These people should actually should be should go through court trials and be prosecuted. So I don't really think the reconciliation is actually the right way forward and reintegrating them into the society.
All right, thank you for that very smart analysis there. We see a development here. Scientists develop injection that heals heart after heart attack. That's from study. Study says that scientists have now developed injection that heals the heart after heart attack. This is a welcome development.
Very welcome development. It's a great news, especially considering the fact that there's a lot of hardship and it can also lead to some
heart attack.
issues with heart attack in the country.
Yeah.
So at least the fact that there's now a remedy for the heart after heart attack, that's a very big story.
Yeah, quite an impressive one. Do well to read through details of that story. We see here that FG clears air on missing revenue claims. It says World Bank reports is misread. There's a statement. There's a story that was trending earlier in regards to some missing revenue. So the federal government is now clearing the air and saying that World Bank's report was misread. Do well to read through that interesting story as it is available in the paper. Let's head on to Daily Sun newspaper. We'll just take a headline there. ADC splits over presidential ticket. Like we initially mentioned, the fact that we have high profile politicians all emerging, all coming from the African Democratic Congress eyeing the presidential seat. It's a whole lot, and it's now causing a break in that political party as the Peter Obi squad, his supporters are there. They are now the Atiku supporters and the Kwankwaso supporters as well.
Mhm.
So it's a whole lot going on. I mean, it's politics. The elections are around the corner, so stories and dramas like this are expected to happen. Let's head on to the Daily Trust newspaper. We're going to take a few headlines on the Daily Trust newspaper. 2025 Army gets 7% disbursement for security equipment. Quite a story there.
And interestingly, they say presidential fleet takes priority over NAF aircraft maintenance. So the president's personal aircraft
Yeah.
is actually taking more budget than the military aircraft, which isn't really good, especially in a country that's facing so much insecurity.
Insecurity challenges, yeah.
You'd expect that they'll be investing at least in the Air Force to at least go and carry out surveillance and bombings of terrorist dens, but that's quite an interesting
Interesting story. I mean, do well to read through its details. UTME candidates, they say, our abductors beat us and forced us to drink dirty water.
What's an ordeal? What's an ordeal? First of all, I want to say I'm happy at least they finally were able to get their freedom. Because a lot of them see worse fates. Sometimes they are being killed. Some of them they are maimed. But of course, you don't want to say the treatments that they got was should I say fair. And they were beaten, forced to drink dirty water. Really terrible treatment. But at least they were finally returned. And for the Benue State government, they're actually trying to ensure that these students will be able to write the UTME exams that they actually missed. But there's nothing more important than life.
Than
it
life,
could have been
of course,
worse than
yes.
it actually is now.
Yeah, so quite a story. Do well to read through its details. Let's head on to the Guardian newspaper, and after the Guardian, we do sports. So on the Guardian, we have cyber attacks, election data at risk as hackers hold government agencies and banks to ransom. Quite a story. Do well to read through its details. Again, parents groan over rising costs of education as schools resume today. I mean, education is now very expensive. I wouldn't even lie. We'll talk about the cost of the fees first off, and then the uniforms, books, a whole lot. So at this point, Nigerian parents are now complaining over the rising cost in education as schools resume today. Do well to read through details of that story as available in the paper. And finally, we have FG denies revenue mismanagement and tasks regional commissions. So a whole lot of interesting stories that are going on available in the papers. Do well to read through. Keep yourself informed and equipped with happenings in your environment and beyond. At this point, I leave you in the hands of Glad, as he will be letting you know things going on in the world of sports. Over to you, Glad.
Yeah, on the Punch Sports Extra, we have the lead story there. Iheanacho Shaw's brace sends Celtic into the Scottish Cup final. So, very impressive performance from Nigeria's Kelechi Iheanacho. Got 2 goals in their Celtic's game, Scottish Cup game. And for Celtic, the league this season has been very disappointing, but at least they have a chance to win the Scottish Cup. And Iheanacho's goals very decisive for that encounter they had over the weekend. And all the stories we have on the Punch Sports Extra, we have Carrick wants United job permanently. For Carrick, he had that impressive win over Chelsea over the weekend. And there's a lot of talks about. Some fans are divided. Some want him to be given the job on a permanent basis. Some believe he's doing well on an interim basis. So just allow him to continue in that direction. But at least for Carrick, he's had his say and he wants the job permanently. So we're going to be seeing if the United management will bow and give him his demands. And that story is on page 4. And for Victor Osimhen, he's still doubtful for Fenerbahce derby. For Osimhen, it's a race against time. He would definitely want to be available for Galatasaray when they take on Fenerbahce in that decisive match. That would be a very big game to decide who would ultimately go and win the Turkish league. And for Ahmed Musa, he dents Rivers' title hopes as Rangers go top. Rivers United did lose on the road to Kano Pillars, and Ahmed Musa with 2 late goals ensured that. And for Rangers, they did take full advantage of Rivers' drop. But you can find that story on page 7. And in the Copa del Rey, we have a story on that on page 7. Simeone explains Lookman substitution. It actually did backfire for Diego Simeone. He brought and took out Ademola Lookman. I think he was a little bit potent. He scored the goal for Atletico Madrid in that encounter, but they ultimately lost to Real Sociedad in the Copa del Rey final. So it did go on to haunt him, but you can actually see Diego Simeone's reasons for dropping Ademola Lookman on page 7 on the Point Sports Extra. And for Wabali, Nigeria's goalkeeper, he's been linked with Kaiser Chiefs. For Hendrick, he stars as Lyon defeats Dents PSG's League 1 title hopes. So big blow for Paris Saint-Germain, but they still have 1 point ahead of Lens, who are second on the log, having the game in hand as well. And for Adeleye, he advances at ATP Challenger 50. And then the other big story, the game between Manchester City and Arsenal. Citizens peg Gunners back in the title race. That was a very interesting game we saw yesterday. And Manchester City overcoming Arsenal keeps the title race really alive for City. Currently 3 points behind Arsenal with a game to play. They will be playing on Wednesday against Burnley. It's a game I expect them to win. So the title race is now wide open. And for Arsenal, they've actually let that 9 points margin slip for another season yet again. Sadly for them. For Liverpool, they want 170 million euro for Gravenberch. I'm not sure if he is worth that amount considering the performance of Liverpool this season and of course his own performance individually. But we'll see how that goes. For those who are interested in reading that story, it is on page 5 on the Point Sports Extra. And for Bayern, the Bavarians seal 35th Bundesliga title after running riot against Stuttgart. I believe that game ended 4-2, but on the papers there is 4-1 indicated there. There could be an error there. Maybe my memory is kind of flawed at this point. But for Chelsea, they are not interested in Vinny. That story is on page 4. And that's a wrap on the sports, the newspaper review on the Point Sports Extra. So I guess I have to hand back to Barbie to conclude.
All right, thank you very much, Glad, for that very interesting sports analysis. I mean, you're giving us a rundown of happenings in the world of sports. And to our amazing viewers, that concludes the newspaper review. You have been watching Newspaper Review on Niger Live TV, reaching you from Bayelsa's capital city, Yanagwa. My name is Barbie Mkparu. Do stay glued with us as we will be bringing you more updates on during our Globe in View. Take care.